About 200 years before Christ, at the height of the Roman Empire, the man who was to become the first Chinese emperor, Qin Shi Huang, conquered and united the 7 warring states, founding an empire bound to last for over 2,000 years. The first Emperor Qin introduced common coinage, a unified system of weights and measures, and even standardized the axles of carts traveling on over 6,000 kilometers of roads.
China's civilization is both old and extraordinarily rich. If we look, for example, just at philosophy, Confucius is roughly a contemporary of the Buddha in India and Socrates in Greece, and was taking on, along with other thinkers at that time, enormous questions of how to order society, what are the roles of members of that society, what is the responsibility of governors. And many of the questions that they were addressing seem very contemporary to us today.
If Christianity, Islam, and Judaism explored the relationship between man and the divine, Confucianism focused simply on how to order society.
To put the world right in order, we first must put the nation in order. To put the nation in order, we must first put the family in order. To put the family in order, we must first cultivate our personal life. We must first set our hearts right.
Having lived at a time when small states were constantly battling for territory, Confucius envisioned a future where a centralized government run by scholar administrators would strictly control the military. This line of thought gave rise to an imperial army designed mainly for defensive purposes and usually deployed not around the imperial court but in garrisons along the Great Wall.
The Chinese, of course, are the folks who invent paper. We can also, of course, note that the Chinese invent the compass. We note that they invent gunpowder. In terms of selecting officials, the Chinese were far ahead of the West in trying to create a system of meritocracy, a meritocratic system, where they selected the bureaucrats based on what they knew rather than who they knew.
By the 6th century, the ranks of the government administration became open to any Chinese citizen, provided he could pass a comprehensive examination and he possessed the 5 essential Confucian virtues: benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trustworthiness. By this time, Europe was evolving in the opposite direction. The Roman Empire was disintegrating, giving birth to numerous small kingdoms, duchies, and principalities, each run by its own monarch in control of his own army. Their administrations were run by the titled aristocracy, a system based on clan heredity and not at all on merit. If European monarchs ruled by divine right with unconditional powers over their subjects, a Chinese emperor needed the mandate of heaven, which was conditional and dependent on him maintaining the economic harmony and, even more importantly, the social harmony.
In brief, I would simply say any comparison between Christianity and Confucianism must face the fact that one believes in God and the other doesn't. So from that starting point, then how each person deals with the rest of the world is influenced by those ideas. For example, in Christianity, the individual is thought to have a sense of fulfilling himself, being responsible for himself to God as an individual. Whereas in the Chinese context, he's primarily owes his responsibilities to his family.
Confucius believed that any member of society, not just the aristocracy and the clergy, could attain great virtues. While Christianity employed faith and prayer for the moral betterment of mankind, Confucianism believed in education, and this education was to take place within the family. 5 social relationships defined the status and role of each member: friend to friend, elder brother to younger brother, husband to wife, father to son, were designed to prepare family members for the most important relationship in society, the relationship between subject and ruler.
Those who in private life behave well towards their parents and elder brothers, in public life seldom show a disposition to resist the authority of their superiors. And for such men, the thought of starting a revolution has never occurred.
Guo, Jia means nation state. Guo means state, Jia means family. The two characters put together means nation state. And for centuries and centuries and centuries, the Chinese have been using this phrase. And automatically, in our subconsciousness, the two things are the same. The nation comes first, and the family the second. We think we are the subordinates, a small soldier on the grand chess. We could be easily mobilized and sacrificed, and that's good for the higher purpose of protecting the future of the nation. That's what you might call collectivism, the beauty and ugliness of collectivism, but that's true.
There are two Confucianisms. One is the philosophy itself as it emerged in the 5th century BC. The other is the use of Confucius by imperial institutions to legitimize themselves. The original Confucianism is basically a philosophy of self-cultivation. Now later on, these qualities were used in a much more opportunistic and instrumental way to claim the obedience of passive subjects. Confucianism became an ideology to justify the autocratic hierarchical rule of a very self-centered and grandiose imperial bureaucracy. And the people down below had very little that they received from this imperial institution by way of virtuous conduct. The Mandate of Heaven took a theory of virtue and converted it into a theory of political legitimacy. Your legitimacy was ipso facto conferred by order. If you had an orderly realm, therefore political authority was legitimate. The minute it became disorderly and a dynasty was overthrown, clearly you've lost the Mandate of Heaven. Very opportunistic and very convenient for those who win.